I played with Chuck Berry, and
can I freeze you right there and say what was he like as a person? Because you always hear like he was, he's the guy that beat up Jerry Lee Lewis at one point. But yeah.
Well, I really don't know much about, the beating up of Jerry Lee Lewis. I mean, it was sort of heartbreaking. I got to tell you, and I almost I'm going to be reserved in a bit,
Sure.
but it was sort of sad that the way I went about doing the gig for Chuck Berry is the promoter. I was pretty decent friends with the promoter, and he's like, "Look, I want you to." It was a show for 10,000 people. We're one of the headliners. It's really cool, and he's like, "I have a show for you. I want you to back up Chuck Berry. No money, just
I've heard of this. I've heard of
just bragging rights." And I'm like, "Well, fuck yeah."
Yeah.
I mean, why would you not want to back up Chuck Berry?
You're right, but I've also heard he was doing that. He would get bands for hire and then kind of just goodbye at the end of the night, and he's got all the money, right?
Well, and that's fine, but so basically, I go, "Well, let me have the CD," and the promoter's like, "Chuck Berry is not giving you a CD," so I went out and bought his greatest hits, and I had vinyl, but I wanted a CD at this point just to learn the stuff easy. So I learned every single Chuck Berry song, verbatim.
Mm-hmm.
I get musicians to play for free, except a piano player, which I paid him. And I had to learn all the words so I could guide the band and it be rehearsed. Because Chuck Berry's very known to forget where he's at. He's going to go into a different key, and we needed to be rehearsed. So I spent a lot of time on this gig. We get to the gig, and he's barely getting out of his Cadillac with it running backstage. He just doesn't want to be with anybody. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. He gets out of his car, and the bass player that's been rehearsing, who's 100 times better than the bass player he's going to play on stage, he goes, "I don't want your bass player, but we'll use your shit." My bass player freaked. He's like, "Well, you can kiss my fucking ass." The thing about Chuck Berry is, I just don't really think he was all that nice a guy. In my humble opinion, I mean, geez, well, there's a little bit of bitterness towards Chuck Berry. And I don't want that to come out and maybe overshadow how much I love Chuck Berry's music.
Gotcha.
But he was a bastard. And it's sort of hard to say this, but because, everybody wants to love their idols. But once you have a bad taste, like when I played with Scotty Moore from Elvis's band, dude ripped, remembered everything. He was amazing. When I'm on stage, I played with, Bill Haley's Comets. Wow. And the guys were, the original band, the guys who created all the hits that got back together. And they were just so humble and so cool. And sometimes you don't want to meet your heroes.
They say that a lot, man. You could be disappointed. They could let you down. You could have this big, imagine what that would be like, and then they don't want to even talk to you.
Well, look, Chuck Berry got all this stuff from T-Bone Walker. That's T-Bone Walker. So, Chuck Berry straightened it out. He was very influenced by another great guitar player. T-Bone Walker, in my opinion, is, one of the greatest. And, Chuck Berry is an amazing lyricist and he's an amazing songwriter. But I don't understand in a lot of senses why he'd get these bullshit bands. Most people didn't even understand the style. And he got like I'd watch, as a kid, I was such an aficionado on Chuck Berry. I'd watch all his videos. I'd buy him on VHS. And I'm just like watching these burnout hippies play wannabe BB King riffs to a completely different style.
Yeah.
It really broke my heart because, you know, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I looked at the contract and I supplied him his amps. I did all the stuff, and he was making 40 grand on the gig, and we just got nothing. And it's cool. I mean, dude, he's Chuck Berry. I'd do it again.
I totally get you. It was quite at the end of the night when like, the set's over. Did he say thanks or any of that, or he just walk off right back to his car and out of here?
He was, you know, look, Chuck Berry at this point didn't know what fucking state he was in.
Okay.
You know, dude, you know, everything turned into a slight shuffle, you know, where it's like, down in Louisiana, across from New Orleans. It was more of like, everything was, it was really slow. It was a bit geriatric.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he just didn't know what the fuck he was doing. But it was, you know, give the guy a break. You know, look, sometimes when the Dancing Bear shows up, I was just happy to see Chuck Berry.